by the Bill duo. The two Bills in Parcells and Belichick wanted all the smoke, and in this game, I'm pretty sure at least, Belichick casted a dark spell that traded the life of a Bill for the life of one of their own, with both Giants quarterback Phil Simms and Bills quarterback Jim Kelly both going down with seemingly really bad injuries, and more importantly, Jim Kelly was actually just carted off the field. Luckily though, Bills backup quarterback Frank Wright, the current Panthers head coach, outdueled the Giants backup Jeff Hostetler 17-13. But the Giants played well, utilizing a near perfect defensive scheme and offensive scheme, leaning on the run to dominate. Somehow miraculously get healthy enough for this ever-important playoff game. Yep, he got healthy. He was out there. Jim Kelly was a man who, unless he shot in all important looking like they never had any time off at all. Now, although they got that win, the Bills would face a boss they've yet to defeat. The last team standing in their way in the AFC Championship game, this time the Los Angeles Raiders, who in all honesty, it pains me to say this, but this Raiders team has a great case as the worst team to ever make an AFC Championship game. They went 12-4 on the year, but their one strength was running the out of the rock, relying on arguably the most talented athlete to ever live in Bo Jackson, who unfortunately had just dislocated his hip 7 days prior. And that's how you end up with the Bills coming into this game as 7-point favorites, but god damn it. And not even the most drunk Buffalo fan out there could have possibly predicted the slaughtering, the absolute butchering that took place in this one AFC Championship game. Oh yeah, man, I love being a Raiders fan. So after that nail-biter, the Bills were in the Super Bowl. For the first time in their franchise's history, the Buffalo Bills made it to the big game where their opponent was Bills. For both of them. Again. Now, this wasn't actually too bad, though, because remember, they did beat the Giants earlier this year, even without Jim Kelly for a solid portion of that game. And Phil Simms, the Giants quarterback, was still injured. So the two teams were set to run it back versus one another, with Belichick's spell now seemingly backfiring on his own men. On paper, the Bills were the clear favorites. They simply just had more talent. I mean, Buffalo's 10 Pro Bowlers is much more than the Giants' respectful 7, and there's not much more to football than that, right? Right? So the game began. Giants versus Bills in Super Bowl 25. And believe it or not, through the first quarter and a half, they seemed to be on the Bills' side. They were hauling ass up the mountain, moving the boulder with them, getting some lucky breaks on offense and a free safety after Jeff Hostetler tripped on his own man. So now with 8 minutes and 18 seconds left in the second quarter, not only were the Bills in full control of a 2-possession lead, but because of the safety they just picked up, forced sort of by Defensive Player of the Year Bruce Smith, they were now getting the ball as well, giving Jim Kelly and the offense a golden opportunity to possibly permanently demoralize the Giants with an imposing touchdown drive. However, instead the Bills just pissed all over this gift given to them with an Andre Reed drop, Kelly overthrow, and a third down dump off to nothing. The Buffalo Bills just went 3 and out, burning a grand total of 18 seconds off the clock, playing right into the hands of the Sith Lord. But once again, the Giants offense just continued to trip over themselves, and once the Bills got the ball right back, it was now someone else's turn to fumble the bag. This time it was the Pro Bowl left tackle Will Wolford picking up a false start on 3rd and 2, which meant their 5-yard gain on the very next play resulted in a 4th and 2, where in the modern age you'd commonly find teams going for it in this position, but I guess now wasn't the time. And the Bills punted back to the Giants, this time taking just over a singular minute off the clock. Then, as the game raged on, the Giants started to finally move the ball, scoring 2 touchdowns, one on the final drive of the second quarter, and the second on the opening drive of the third quarter, which resulted in, a 9-minute and 29-second drive. The longest drive in Super Bowl history at the time, so now Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, and the others jogged onto the field with 5 minutes and 31 seconds left in the third quarter. And the last time they found themselves on offense was with 4 minutes and 31 seconds left in the second quarter. Almost an hour and a half of real-life time had passed before this team was out there with the football again. And even when they were on the field, Jim Kelly and the offense continued to be stifled by the NFL's #1 ranked defense in 1990, with Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, and the rest of the crew wrecking things. But eventually Thurman Thomas ripped off a 31-yarder to the house, and after a Giants field goal, the time had come. New York had just burnt another 3 minutes off the clock, and with 2 minutes and 16 seconds left, Jim Kelly took the field for a chance to cement the Buffalo Bills in NFL lore forever. On the good side. I mean on the good side, I swear. If this was how the Bills were going to win the game, then so be it. Belichick and Parcells could not have asked for a better situation to be in, relying on their defense to win the game, but Thurman Thomas was an issue, ripping off a huge 22-yard run just after the 2-minute warning, and now it was time for Jim Kelly to do some throwing. And he basically did just that, finding 2 receivers for checkdowns, which didn't amount to many yards at all, but okay, whatever. And then they boldly decided to run the ball with Thurman Thomas and spiked it with 8 seconds left, where rather than trying to run another play, they decided to let the chips fall where they may and sent out Scott Norwood, a previous All-Pro kicker who was very, very solid, but kicking from a distance wasn't his thing whatsoever, as from just 40 yards and over, 40 yards, he had only made a singular field goal out of his 5 attempts on grass, and it turns out they were playing this game on the good old green stuff. So with the Super Bowl on the line, all the pressure in the world on this one man, this 47-yard field goal attempt was far from free, and then it happened. Scott Norwood stepped up to the plate, and the boulder rolled all the way back down the mountain.
There's a kick. It is up. It is no good. Norwood missed.
Oh yeah, that's how Chapter 1 concludes, with a swift, strategically placed kick right into the ball. The Giants did exactly what they set out to do, decimating the Bills in the time of possession battle, 40 minutes to just 19. But with the dust settled, after the game ended, although Scott Norwood obviously takes a large portion of the blame, so should everybody. Marv Levy could have done a better job with clock management, Kelly missed throws, the receivers dropped passes, and the defense allowed the Giants, led by their backup quarterback still, Jeff Hostetler, to walk all over them in crucial moments, letting plays like this happen, which, I mean, okay, to be honest, this was really just impressive on Mark Ingram's part, but still, I mean, you understand what I'm trying to say, right? The point I'm trying to make is this was a team. They all felt accountable for this loss, and when they all showed up to work the next day, they all just felt defeated and sad, but Marv Levy knew how to rally his troops, and after posting a poem on the board, that would motivate all Bills players to run it back and give everything they had for at least one more season. This was the poem that Marv shared with the entire team. "Fight on, my men," Sir Andrew said. "A little I am hurt, but not yet slain. I'll just lie down and bleed a while. Then I'll rise and fight again." That was the team's slogan. That was what was flowing through their minds at all times. Nothing but pure revenge. Each player had their own way of getting back to work. Kelly studied, Bruce Smith tortured himself with a Stairmaster, and Marv did what he could to keep the guys motivated and hungry for the 1991 campaign. Literally, right away, if there were any concerns on whether the Bills could keep up this unique style of offense at a successful rate, all the people who doubted them shut the hell up when in Week 2, Jim Kelly dropped 6 touchdowns and a 52 bomb on the Steelers, and from there, everything just seemed to fall in place for this team perfectly. Everything that could have gone right did. Jim Kelly had the best season of his career, leading the AFC in passer rating. Andre Reed and James Lawson had great seasons, and Thurman Thomas, whew, that is a bad, bad man. These stats aren't even slightly normal. The dude so often just carried the entire offense when needed, winning the league MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, led the league in scrimmage yards for the 3rd straight season, as well as yards per carry, among other stats, to simply have one of the best running back seasons we've still ever seen. It all just seemed to go perfectly, right? Well, there were some problems. The castle came crashing down in Week 6 when the Bills got shellacked by the Kansas City Chiefs 33-6, and things got even worse as the year went on the defensive side of the ball at least, because Buffalo would be without a few guys. But of course, the most notable human dimension here is this thing, the Bruce. He was knocked out of action with knee issues from weeks 1 through 4 and 6 through 13, so other guys like Cornelius Bennett and Darryl Talley had to do what they could to hold down the fort while the offense simply outscored everyone to lead the Bills to a 13-3 record and a 4th straight division crown. So it was time for the playoffs once again, and this team was pissed the hell off, obviously, but they still needed to keep their cool and handle business like gentlemen, which they did in the divisional round versus Kansas City, returning their L the Chiefs handed them earlier this year, and now moved on to the AFC Championship, this time versus a more evenly matched opponent from the AFC West, the Denver Broncos. A team with Super Bowl DNA already, and now this game had a perfect narrative going for it. The all but inevitable shootout between a pair of 1983 draft picks in John Elway versus Jim Kelly. I mean, come come on, there's no way this game isn't just going to be must-watch TV. Well, it turns out this game was must-watch TV if you enjoy watching paint dry, because you'd probably get more entertainment from stabbing yourself with a fork than watching these highlights. I'm not going to lie to you, it was a rough watch. Both Elway and Kelly heavily struggled versus great defenses at full strength, and the Bills, who failed to log a single offensive touchdown all game, were bailed out by the defense once more, getting a pick six, and did their best to never look back. However, before it was over, Buffalo did get a little scare. When John Elway got injured, backup quarterback and future Broncos head coach, ironically, Gary Kubiak came in and injected life into this dying animal, and eventually got the Broncos down the field to bring the game to within 3. And then the chaos truly ensued, when the Broncos whipped out whatever the hell this was, and actually got the onside kick. Sweet God, the Bills are choking. So, with every Bills fan in attendance in a state of shock, Kubiak dropped back to pass, and the Broncos fumbled. Game over, Bills win, Broncos lose. And now, Buffalo had won and was going to the Super Bowl for the second straight year, except, no disrespect to the Giants from last year, because they were great, but the team that awaited for the Bills this season was just a whole different monster. The 1991 Washington Redacted. This team had everything. An elite defense led by Hall of Famers, an elite offense led by Hall of Famers, an elite kicker, a Hall of Fame coach, and most notably, one of the best and easily the most iconic offensive line in NFL history, being nicknamed the Hogs, as a reward for their play, and unfortunately for the Bills, this is where the boulder starts to slip a little. So, stay with me, but the week leading up to the Super Bowl, remember, is always just nuts, right? Everyone's getting interviewed everywhere, it's just so confusing. But that being said, everyone usually just gives the normal response where you say, oh, we respect our opponent and we're going to go out and do the best we can to try to win the game, right? Well, the Bills' D-line coach had other plans. This man, Chuck Dickerson, the Bills' defensive line coach, went to the media high off of 2.5 Xanax bars and blatantly just let it all out, disgracing Washington's entire O-line, talking about how they constantly get away with holds, they're not even that good, and they smell bad, which, that's just straight up mean. He went way too far on that last line. So that's exactly what Buffalo needed, some controversy. But it didn't stop there either, because Bruce Smith, around the exact same time, who had recently worked himself back into football shape, was getting sent racist letters by supposed Buffalo fans, and conspiracies still exist to this day about whether those letters were actually sent by Bills fans, but whatever was said was enough to make Bruce Smith say he might never play another game for the Bills after the Super Bowl again. And this was all before the game began. So to remind you that the goddamn Super Bowl still had to be played, of course the Bills weren't done getting tomatoes thrown at them, with the MVP of the NFL, Thurman Thomas, famously accidentally losing his helmet before the team's first possession, forcing backup Kenneth Davis to log a 1-yard rush, and a Buffalo punt happened soon after. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but their luck really just did a 180. Everything that could have gone wrong and more did, and the Bills effectively lost the game before it even began, with Buffalo falling behind 0-17 before halftime. And then on the first play from scrimmage in the third quarter, Jim Kelly threw a pick down to the 2-yard line, where Washington would punch it in for a touchdown, and that was basically just it. Washington won the game 37-24 after Buffalo put up some garbage time points, and the Bills had nobody to...
Hello? I'm doing the trail. I gotta go. Bye.
Bye.
But themselves. They simply didn't play good enough and looked like the inferior team from start to finish. And although the Hogs O-line later admitted after the game that Dickerson's comments greatly motivated them, I mean, you can't just blame the game on one guy, right? And the Bills knew that, and obviously just went into the next season dusting themselves off and hoped that they wouldn't run into another juggernaut, because, I mean, what are the chances of that? So all they had to do was just keep reciting that poem to themselves and get ready for round 3. But before we get into the third incident here, it's time to talk about this video's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, if you're somehow not familiar, is the easiest way to play fantasy sports, and my personal favorite way to do that is through the pick'em game, where you simply choose whether you believe a player will go higher or lower on a singular stat, and depending on how many you get correct, you can win up to 20 times your money. And for these upcoming Sunday Week 10 games, I've already got 3 picks right here, which are Derek Carr over 1.5 rushing yards, Jalen Warren over 33.5 rushing yards, and Justin Herbert over 265 passing yards. So if you want to tail this pick'em entry or come up with your own, and you live in one of these many states in orange on the screen here, then click the link in the description or pinned comment to sign up with promo code TUBFROG, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Also, if you sign up using my code for the first time, you'll receive a free pick'em offer, and this week that offer is going to be Garrett Wilson, where all he has to do is find a way to catch a singular ball from Zach Wilson, and you'll be good. So if all that sounds great to you, go have some fun on Underdog, and make sure you use promo code TUBFROG for a huge discount. And with that, let's get back to the pain. To start the 1992 season, although many people have questions regarding how much more this team could take, the Bills still proved they were at least on the surface the same old Bills, handing the ascending 49ers one of their 2 losses on the year in a 34-31 shootout, where for the first time in NFL history, there wasn't a single punt from either side. The Bills then proceeded to fall once again to a Raiders team that would finish with a losing record, but if there was one team that was going to have to take the adversity test and pass it, it would be these Bills, who rallied to bring their season all the way back to enter a Week 17 matchup versus the Houston Oilers at 11-4. All they had to do was win this game, and they were in the divisional round, but the football gods had other plans. And in this game and afterwards, the Buffalo Bills would face by far their hardest challenge during this 3-year run and counting.
And Kelly is down holding his knee.
Jim Kelly was hurt, and not only were the Bills going to be without their Hall of Fame quarterback, but they now had to play in the wild card round for the first time since 1981 after that humiliating 3-27 loss to the Oilers, where now waiting for them in the wild card was the team that had just took them and their quarterback out last week, the Houston Oilers. This was it. This was where the AFC Championship dynasty would die. All year long, the Bills' offense had continued to show flashes of what it could be, but even with Kelly in charge, it just wasn't the same, as he threw for 10 less touchdowns in 1992 than in 1991, even playing in one more game. And the defensive side of the ball was also allowing around 18 points per game, which, with now a backup quarterback in Frank Reich starting for them, was simply not going to be enough to get the job done. And sure enough, the game began, and the Oilers just picked up right where they left off, burying the Bills alive in an anticlimactic ceremony of death. And at one point, in the last 2 games, the Oilers had outscored the Bills 62-6. And in this wildcard game, I mean, at one point, hold on, can you believe this? The Oilers held a 28-3 lead. I mean, nobody comes back from that lead, especially in the playoffs, so the game was pretty much over. But the Oilers were feeling luxurious today. That stat of destruction wasn't even good enough for them, and they picked off the struggling Reich to take a now inconquerable 35-3 lead. But, I mean, we still got around another 10 minutes left or so in this video, so, yeah. Thanks, Oilers. Real cool stuff you did there. In one quarter, 28 points were dropped head on the cranium of Houston, and even after forcing overtime, Houston's quarterback Warren Moon threw a pick, and the Bills kicked a game-winning field goal to give this Buffalo team a second life. But once again, this team that just barely survived the wildcard round, led by the comeback wizard Frank Reich, who now held the greatest college and NFL comeback ever, were now all of a sudden a Super Bowl contender again. All it took was one small spark of fire, and the Bills just turned that into a bonfire, slaughtering the Steelers 24-3 in the divisional round, with backups Frank Reich and running back Kenneth Davis falling out of their minds. And now the Bills had to go through the Dolphins in the AFC Championship game, this being their toughest opponent they've faced at this stage in the playoffs, while seemingly the Bills, too, were at their absolute weakest. So the AFC Championship would begin. Marino versus Kelly, and it wasn't even close. Although Jim Kelly came back, he really didn't look like his old self, logging a downright rough performance, but luckily for him, Dan Marino was worse, as the Bills' defense gobbled up 2 picks and 4 sacks off of Dan, and now, here we are again. The Bills clinched another Super Bowl appearance, but although they had just come off of playing some of the most legendary coaches and players ever, things were about to get even harder, as in Super Bowl 27, this guy, and this guy couldn't wait to have their shot in the spotlight and were prepared to use some brutal force to take the glory for themselves. So here's the thing. Remember the 49ers? I mentioned them earlier. Well, if you weren't aware, they're also an NFC team. And in the 1992 NFC Championship game, the Cowboys faced off against the 49ers in effectively what was viewed as the real Super Bowl between the 2 best teams in the NFL. So when the Cowboys got the job done, they came into this Super Bowl as 6.5-point favorites, which was slightly less than Washington last year. And, I mean, that's not saying much because that game didn't go well at all last year. But the point I'm trying to make is the Bills weren't favored in this game whatsoever, but maybe that's exactly where they wanted to be. Bruised and battered, backs to the wall, with nobody in America believing in the Bills outside of their own fans. Now, I want to make it clear that the Cowboys clearly had more talent than the Bills, but Buffalo did have 2 things. One, at least this wasn't going to be their first rodeo, and they may have had the potential formula to beating Dallas, which was to simply outscore them. I know, what a strategy, but remember, earlier this season, simply scoring points on every possession was enough to beat the 49ers, so maybe that same plan could work versus Jerry's unit of men, but unfortunately, the Bills didn't collapse before the game like they did last year, but it was a much, much sadder defeat this season, because despite what seems to be the narrative around this game today, the Bills had clear chances to win this game, but Jim Kelly just didn't look healthy on this day, as after taking a 7-0 lead, taking advantage of a blocked punt, Jim Kelly would go on to commit 3 turnovers in 3 straight drives, and then got re-injured, forcing Reich to try and salvage the broken toy he was handled again, but this time the bag of magic had run dry, and after taking a 31-10 lead in the 3rd quarter, the game was all but decided, and the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl versus Buffalo 52-17, scoring at the time the most points ever in a Super Bowl. How long can this go on for? Somehow, the Bills have just continued to push the threshold of despair even further, with each of their Super Bowl losses somehow feeling less and less winnable. But once again, they simply just ran into an all-time great team, and if they can somehow manage to get back to a 4th Super Bowl, it won't happen again, right? I mean, 3 years in a row at least of running into all-time great teams, that would be so unlucky, right? At this point, you know how it goes. The Bills still maintained the same core with their big 3 in offense in Kelly, Thurman Thomas, and Andre Reed, doing the usual thing even with the loss of James Lofton, leading the team to a 7-1 record, including a massive Week 2 win versus the Dallas Cowboys. So, albeit without Emmitt Smith, but still, a win is a win. And what this game proved is that regardless of who's out there, like it or not, this Bills team was still a very real threat to win it all. However, they did start to drop a few games here and there, but still managed to finish the season relatively healthy with a 12-4 record. And due to the Dolphins losing 3 more games than the year prior, the Bills snatched the division crown and held yet another home divisional game versus their playoff punching bag, the Los Angeles Raiders. But let's take a step back here for just a second, though, because with the entire Bills core aging and free agency breakthrough coming soon, this was the Bills' last chance to finally win a Super Bowl. They had bled so much that they simply could not get up any longer. This year was it, and the Raiders, although have been an easy matchup for them in the 90s, the Silver and Black had handled the Bills earlier this season, and in the 2nd quarter of this game, the Raiders looked like they were going to spear the Bills for the final time, taking a 17-6 lead off of the back of their run game. But come on, of course a mere weapon to the heart just pisses off a thing like the Bills even more. And although the Raiders never gave up, a 4th quarter touchdown drive by Kelly and a great late defensive performance by the Bills defense was just enough to exhaust the underdog Raiders out of resources 29-23. And then the Bills dealt with another AFC West team standing in their way that they had previously lost to, demolishing an injured Joe Montana's Chiefs 30-13 to give this team one final chance in the Super Bowl. A Super Bowl rematch. For the first time in NFL history, the exact same two teams would face off against one another for the second year in a row. And for Buffalo, they truly, seemingly had nothing to lose. Dallas was once again the up-and-coming heavy favorites, and the Bills were a team that everyone had simply given up on. Once again, the real Super Bowl was 49ers versus Cowboys. I mean, the Bills aren't even a real contender. The AFC is a complete joke, and although there was definitely some truth to that statement, maybe, just maybe, 1994, and technically the 1993 season, was finally going to be the year of the Buffalo Bills. The team was still holding on by a thread to Marv Levy's inspirational war stories. This team just had one more river left to cross, but the pressure on Buffalo for this rematch seemed to be absurdly high, but in a weird way, because there wasn't much pressure to win the game, more so to not lose. The thought of being known as the NFL team that made and lost 4 Super Bowls in a row corrupted the Bills from the inside, and they had to do all they could to fight those thoughts all the way until after the game, when they could make everyone just shut up for good. And maybe, if they needed some more added motivation, Cowboys head coach Jimmy Johnson made the cardinal sin of trash-talking the opponent before the game, possibly by accident, saying Buffalo probably isn't feeling great because they've lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, but it had only been 3 at the time, so bold move by Jimmy to say that. And as the game began in the final hour of the Bills' destiny-deciding game, the first 30 minutes went really, really well. Buffalo was in control of the game, and the defense caused a world of trouble for Dallas' offense. And it even seemed like fate was on their side, with the 70-year-old Marv Levy getting knocked down, bled a little, and then got right back up. But for how inspirational that was, even so, the Bills made mistakes that could have allowed them to pull away with a larger lead. A 13-6 lead going into a long halftime break is still very, very solid, and was a shocking development for most people watching this game live. I cannot stress this enough. The Buffalo Bills were in full control of this Super Bowl in the first half, and still, for reasons that I can't fully understand, I have my own theories, but I don't get it. The Bills walked into the locker room, and according to sources such as Troy Aikman, who was actually there in person, when the Bills were walking back to their locker room, entering halftime, they just seemed tired and sick. Like they didn't even want to go back out there for the second half. The team was losing motivation by the second, feeling like things were almost going too well for them, and eventually the law of averages was going to set in. And, I mean, even O.J. Simpson seemingly saw it coming.
If the Bills were happy with the first half, they certainly didn't show it. Very somber group of guys coming in. There was no talk about great first half.
Thank you, O.J. What a truly good and honest man he is. Foreboding, a term used to describe a feeling that something bad will happen, seemingly just took over the locker room. And call it what you may, fate, destiny, or whatever, but I firmly believe the Bills bought into their own downfall enough to turn it into a reality. All those motivational war stories bestowed upon them by Marv had just started to fall flat all of a sudden. Why would we ever believe in these stupid poems and motivational stories if all they've ever done was brought us more and more pain? So to start the third quarter, on the third play of the second half, Thurman Thomas seemingly drank the Kool-Aid too and tossed the ball up to Dallas, resulting in a 46-yard touchdown. And from there on out, this game was over. Dallas was unstoppable, and Buffalo's tank was simply empty, with the Cowboys marching on to their second Super Bowl in a row. And on the other side of the field, the Buffalo Bills did the impossible. 4 years in a row, 4 Super Bowl appearances, and 0 Super Bowl victories. And just to try and get more context about what the mentality of this Bills team was during this 4-year Super Bowl run, I actually just asked Jim Kelly himself to see how the team was able to stay so mentally tough during this 4-year period, and this was his answer.
But from your notes, it said that you're doing a documentary, God bless you, on the 4 Super Bowls, and boy, I'll tell you what, those were some fun days, there's no doubt about it. The first one, as you all know, the wide right, it doesn't matter. Scott Norwood was the guy that got us there. So I never would point a finger at him or blame him. I should have got a little closer, maybe put it on the left hash, whatever the case may be. we get together as a team, and then of course going to 2 and not winning at 3. But after the third one, I wasn't sure what my teammates, how they would react, because all the negativity after that third one, oh, we don't want the Bills back. Yeah, I get all that. But you know, going into that fourth Super Bowl, I knew that they would work out. Bruce and Thurman, Andre, and Wool and Ken Hall and a bunch of the guys, Cornelius. I knew they would work out. I mean, that's what you do for football, you get prepared. But when you hear all that negativity, I wasn't sure going into training camp how the mental part would be, but it took one day. And I knew that these guys were ready. And our motto was, let's piss everybody off. Let's go back forward. And we did. And unfortunately, as you well know, we didn't win, but we never gave up. The closeness of our family right now, our Bills family, couldn't be any better. We still keep in touch. We still do things together. I am very blessed that I have some great, great friends, great teammates, and of course a Hall of Fame, unbelievable coach in Marv Lee. He was the best. He was the greatest leader there ever was. So, Tub Frog, you take care of yourself. God bless you. Good luck on this documentary. The last thing that I have to say as a former Buffalo Bill, let's go! Buffalo! Take care. And God bless you, bud.
Huge thanks to Jim Kelly for that insight, but in our timeline, after all 4 Super Bowls concluded, it was now all officially over. Everything was finalized and entered into the history books as Buffalo lied on the floor and bled to death. And to this very day, they have gotten back up, but they just keep getting knocked back down to bleed more and more. The Bills have continued to fall victim to all-time great teams with all-time great talent. So maybe the Buffalo Bills will forever have one purpose in this barren wasteland we call the NFL. And that purpose is to forever push their boulder until they almost reach the top of the mountain, until it falls all the way back down to the beginning, painfully forcing them to restart the cycle all over again. Anyways, if you like this video, then subscribe, and shout out to all my patrons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, ain't it?
Yeah, but listen, I got the air conditioner on full blast and I'm still getting warm. I cannot imagine how hot you are.
It's really not that bad.
Listen, that first hill is crazy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I went in there with no four-wheel drive or nothing. I thought I could just get up there basic.
Yeah.
No, I had to put it in four-wheel drive to get up there.
Yeah, you need those front wheels turning. Crystal, when we get that big mud bog, it's deeper this year.
Yes?
Yeah, Crystal's going to get out and she's going to film it. So we're going to pause right there, and then she's going to get out with this handheld I've got. She's going to film it.
Okay.
She's going to film me and you both on the road. So you give me a chance to go completely through it, and then you go.
Oh, me.
Oh, me. Alright, buddy. Ready to roll?
This is the second longest train journey in the world, and this room is going to be our home for the next 96 hours as we travel from Vancouver to Toronto. If you missed last last week's video, we completed 72 hours across the U.S. from New York to Seattle on Amtrak. From there, we took a bus across the border, got one good night of sleep in a stationary bed, and in this video, we head back across North America in the opposite direction. Spoiler alert, this journey on the Canadian is superior in every way. Our room is spacious, the bed is super comfy, the views are stunning, the drinks are unlimited, and the observation car offers us this incredible top-down view of the entire journey. By the end of this video, you'll see why the Canadian quickly turned into our favorite train journey in the world.
Train travel does not get better.
Wow, look at this train. Here we go. We are not on Amtrak anymore. Look at this.
I love Canada.
We definitely rode these two trains in the right order. Doing Amtrak first and then this being the grand finale is definitely the right decision because it would have been hard reality to go from this.
Oh, I didn't even know what I was thinking. You know, like, we had a great time. It was great. Yeah, it was very much. Cheers.
Our life is going to be very different.
Okay, and off we go. Goodbye, Vancouver.
It is a pleasure to welcome you on board journey number 2 to Canadian. What a beautiful journey, isn't it?
Okay, now that we're moving and we've settled in a little bit, I'm going to give you a full tour of our beach room. Starting in here. This is obviously the main event.
Getting in here because there's nowhere else to go.
First of all, the layout of this beach. You're either sitting here, facing the window. That's a perfect frame. Oh my gosh, look, of downtown Vancouver. Or you can just take a rock around. Also, you know, have a totally different experience. Like you're in Speaking of that, you might be wondering where it is. This whole wall is pretty much the same. We've never had it where we found out before in a train, so I'm very excited to see it. But extra excited because with this wall, separate bunk bed on the exterior. We got to the train station. We actually took our essentials out of our big suitcases and checked them like we did at the airport. We don't pick up again until we get to Toronto.
I'm glad I don't have to figure out a way to lift those suitcases up to the ceiling like I did on it.
We got it. I don't know if anyone we're just saying. Looks like we have extra pillows on this side, but all of this is open for our bed. So I'll put a little bit of my stuff up here. Below that we have this big shelf, any little knickknacks that you need easy access to goes here. And then the rest of my stuff we put underneath the seat. This looks like a normal coffee table, which I put out. It's on a swivel. Oh man. Oops, sorry. Sorry. Sleeve on one side to store stuff, drawers, and there's even a hidden quality to our control panel right in the server. Here we have the call buttons. They're both camera buttons and they even let back which is just so different from Amtrak. We might start to call it quiet during our Amtrak. At least 15 minutes to get to our room. Below that is a temperature control, which is always appreciated. We've had some very extreme temperatures on temperature. I want to take the next step. And then the last quartmaster hall light control. I hate to keep talking about light control, but the door locks from the inside, but not from the outside. Like when you leave your room, there was no way to secure everything that you have inside of your train car. And not to mention, when you left the room and the handouts room, the door would just fly open. So not only did it not lock, it was usually just open. This door, we do not have that problem. Not only does it stay closed, but it automatically locks. So we're definitely going to get locked out of it. So follow me way over here. We have a mirror, which is always appreciated. A television that has 20 windows on it. And down here, we have wooden labeled cooler caps. Not looks like a bridge, sounds like a bridge, but it's really just a cabinet with a fan inside. And now, for the grand finale, this is labeled washroom, or
Yay!
Taking time between trips has seriously made a world of difference for me. So first, I just want to say thank you so much for your patience and your attention. You have no idea how much it means to me. It took me way too long to finally realize that I needed to start prioritizing my mental health, and now I'm so glad I did. And I'm also so happy to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this week and answer a few questions about yourself on their website. And BetterHelp will match you with therapists that they think best meets your specific needs. But if for some reason it's not working out, you can always push me to challenge myself and continue to grow. And that just makes me so happy because we all need someone like that in our lives. So first one. You need amenities they've provided us with. For sleep. That'll be conditioner, shampoo, body wash, and lotion. Silk on cleaning bars. Just legit. It's like I might go 5 o'clock. Maybe for a minute. This is amazing. Oh, good. It's a shoe man. Storage. Hair dryer. Yes. This is a typical train toilet. You use it like regular toilet, and then when you flush it, it sounds like a spaceship is taking off. Wow. Big, nice mirror. I think it works like a regular sink. Hey! And the real grand finale, the shower. We have these nice glass doors. There's no dusting. There's no hanging. There's no toe warmer stuck in the wall. Nothing rattling. Luxury. Best of all, not a wet bath. So there is a button that you have to press every 60 seconds to keep the water going. Apparently, a long time ago, there was a guy who took a shower and then didn't come back in the bathroom for 5 hours and forgot to turn it off, and he used all the water in the whole train, and that's why there's this.
I feel like we're being a little harsh on Amtrak, so I will give them bonus points for one thing. Actually, 2 things. So this window is amazing. It's gigantic. It's huge. Like the first Amtrak train that we rode on had 2 windows, and I feel like they could have squeezed another one up there. And also, the Amtrak lounges were surprisingly nice. I think we got here a lot later than we should have today. Like, we didn't even have time to go to the lounge. They just immediately brought us onto the train, but I did have time to quickly peek into the lounge, and Amtrak's lounges BRL. But in fairness, you really can't compare the two because Amtrak doesn't have like a luxury offering, whereas prestige class that we're riding in now, it costs $10,000 to get from one side of the country to the other. It is obviously being sold as a luxury product, so that's what you would expect. Whoa, we had a train going across this thing. Once the bed comes down, it takes up basically the entire room. Like there's about 2 feet of space right here, and then the bathroom.
Oh my gosh. Also, that was our first meal of the night. 15 that we were going to eat in that night. So it was a pretty good deal, and it was delicious. We were sitting with the bathroom. At some point, we will have to tell you about these things.
Guess so.
Good job. Spend the rest of the afternoon enjoying these views, and we'll show you around the rest of the train tomorrow when the scenery isn't quite as exciting. Here you go, sleepyhead.
Wow, the tables have turned.
Did you have a good nap?
Over there. Almost exactly 24 hours after leaving Vancouver, we have just stopped in Jasper for our first fresh air break. We have 30 minutes to get out, walk around, enjoy the beautiful scenery, and we're going to get as many steps in as possible because
we have not held back in the food department.
Also, I think this is the furthest north in Canada that we've ever been. We got really close to Jasper a few years ago when we drove the Icefields Parkway in a van, and then we stopped at the Columbia Icefield, which is a little south of here, and got out and walked on this incredible glacier. But it looks like we should have kept driving.
Jasper's just a super cute little town. I think they said like 4,000 people live here.
Seeing this giant engine that they have displayed right outside of the train station reminded me that the day before we left Vancouver, which feels like a lifetime ago, but was actually yesterday, I went on a run and just happened to run by the very first engine that pulled passengers all the way across Canada. And I thought that was a pretty fun coincidence considering that I was about to ride my first train all the way across Canada. As if there was not already enough food to eat on this train, they serve afternoon buffets, extra little triangle grilled cheeses. Oh my gosh. We come back up to the observation car because we have a few more hours in the Rockies, and our train attendant Martin told us that these views were the best of the entire trip.
So we're gonna stop talking for a little while and let you just enjoy the views.
Trip has turned into a safari. Before the snow moved in, we managed to see elk, bighorn sheep, and 2 bald eagles. It's the middle of winter. I didn't expect to see anything. What a treat. So if you're traveling in prestige class on the Canadian, they do a great job making it feel really special. These appetizers that we're eating right now are only served to prestige passengers. They reserve seats up in the observation deck. There's special canapes for you in the afternoon. It is over the top, make you feel special. It might be the healthiest dinner I've ever been served.
We're going to talk about that thing. All of the wines are standing.
We were chatting at dinner, and we figured we'd spent over a month of our life on the train. And I think this might have been the best day on the train ever. But we still have 2.5 more days left. Carrie's in a bad mood tomorrow because this ended.
I don't want it to be over, and I hate it early. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're doing this.
Right. See you in the morning. Good morning. We have woken up right outside of Saskatoon. It's a completely different world out there than what it was yesterday. Also, according to my phone, it is negative 10 degrees outside. Everything is just completely frozen. But the sunrise is absolutely beautiful, and it's amazing that at 8:30 we do sunrise. When I take a big deep breath in, I can feel my nose hairs freezing together. It's warmed up a bit. It's negative 1 degree Fahrenheit now. I do not understand how a train stays on the tracks.
The train drives off?
Or is the train just like heavy enough that
It doesn't matter.
So Mark was just telling us that each of the trains have a small plow on the front, but there's a big snowstorm and there is actually a plow that goes through and knocks the snow off the tracks. Accurate.
That actually makes me feel warmer. I thought that was just going to be a fresh air break, but we got stretch our legs, but it was so much more
Do what? No. I'm sure.
From Kiev.
Hi guys.
He's here in Canada studying, but he's from Ukraine, and he brought us local gifts.
Apparently, Saskatoon, the city that we're in, is actually named after the berry.
And bear postcards.
It's very sweet. Andre, you made Kara's day.
Also, very handmade, so I'm so excited. Andre, you are a legend. Okay, it is finally time to give you the official full train tour. We're going to start in the very back and then go all the way to the front. Here we have a nice little seating area where it seems like nobody ever comes, so I feel like we have this all to ourselves like 90% of the time. This is where Nate comes and gets my coffee every morning. It's here all day long. Upstairs is the observation deck where Nate has taken a bajillion hours of video out the little dome window. This is one of 3 observation carts on the whole train, but it is no doubt the fanciest. And down here, this is the bar where if you are staying in a prestige room, you can get any drink that you want all day, every day, included in your ticket. Lock the shoes. And then into this car has 2 prestige rooms. Also, we thought I was joking about how cold it was. This is what the floor looks like in between all the trains.
The inside of the train is actually frozen.
In the next car, we have all prestige rooms. Ours is the first one right here. I actually don't know how many prestige rooms there are in this place. There's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 8 total prestige rooms. This is going to be the awkward part of the tour. So I'm just going to walk quietly.
Okay, I feel too awkward. I'm just going to point it at my feet as we walk. I've seen enough of the dining room already.
Whew, okay. We did it. You would think after filming ourselves for 8 years, I wouldn't feel this awkward still, but I do. This is the next observation car. It's not as fancy as the first one, but it is kind of fun. Let me show you. There are some board games. There's some books. Bingo at 3 o'clock. Trivia at 4:15. Coming to win.
We have never once done trivia in our lives.
Yes, we have another seating area all to ourselves and another observation car. The next 4 train cars are all sleepers. There are 5 different tiers of tickets that you can book for this train, and we're going to try to show you all 5. And you're going to each room. There's a shower with this in our car. And the shower is actually quite large. Pretty nice.
Also, there are 2 at the end of the hall. everything except for room, so we will keep our eye out for an opportunity to show you one of those sometime in the next day and a half before we get to Toronto.
So that's it for the tour for now. Gotta go gear up for bingo. I mean, get a
I'm
coffee.
exhausted from feeling awkward.
Someone's gotta do it nighttime.
Very fancy bingo cards, both big. We both got two because they're upright. And I don't think I can handle more than two.
You got this.
I-24, G52. No. G46, I-23, O65, D10. Oh, he won.
Bingo! And then postcards, and the loot bag. This is all like old train stuff, which is actually pretty cool. Souvenir spoon if I want that. I think the hockey stick, keychain, what do you think?
Just fewer eyes and then I-22, he won like in Jubal. D7, G51.
Bingo!
Oh, wow.
I think it was my first time to ever win anything.
After somehow both winning at bingo, we enjoyed happy hour and canapes with pretty much this exact same view on repeat until it was time for dinner. This is without a doubt the most tofu I've ever seen on a single plate. Also, we realized that we are almost exactly halfway through this journey, which still insane. It feels like we've been on this train forever. We are currently in Yarborough, Canada.
I think I'm gonna have to go get the stuff out of there.
Also, I don't know if we've said this explicitly, but freight traffic has priority here in Canada. So every time a freight train passes, we have to either slow down or stop to let it pass, and that's what's causing the delays. Like, this is a tourist train. You don't necessarily take it to get from one place to the next all the time. You take it for the experience. Speaking of the devil, this carrot cheesecake looks next. I know it's only been in our mouth for 2 seconds. By far the best thing I've had on the train.
You're acting like me right now.
Honestly.
Go on, show me the happy dance. Nice. Comment below whose happy dance is better.
There are literally hundreds of deer. Those aren't in the fence. They can't be kept in by a fence. They're just hanging out. Good morning. Once again, we have woken up with completely different landscape outside the window. We're going past these beautiful frozen lakes. So last night before we went to sleep, we decided to test out the TV and watch a movie. There are speakers in the headrest of this chair right here, and your head is right in the middle of it. Like the best surround sound speakers ever. I felt like I was in a movie theater.
Not sure Dune gets a 10 out of 10, but the viewing experience.
Kara's not a big sci-fi fan. She also doesn't like to have to work to understand things.
Not that made any
So on this journey, we are passing through 5 provinces in Canada, and this morning we woke up in our 5th, which is Ontario, and we still have a day and a half of this trip left.
66 hours into this train journey, and it is finally time to step out the shower. The floor is nice and warm in here, and hopefully that means the water's not too. Wish me luck. The floor in here.
What? I see it. Crystal? You're about to get mud on you.
crazy that this journey is coming to an end, but at the same time, I cannot tell you how ready I am to sleep in a bed.
That is moving. I would give her sleep over the last week, like a 6.
That's what I said day 1, which means it hasn't improved. I don't know, I think we're getting old. I don't remember having trouble sleeping on trains, but...
I did just turn 33. I was turning 35.
Hey, yeah.
Alright, we're gonna watch our movie. Enjoy our last evening.
Good morning from Capriol, Canada. This is only my 3rd time getting off this train in 5 days. We're only stopped for a few minutes, but let's get to walk. Is one of the best 3 train journeys of my entire life. The only 2 that I can even think of to compare are the Maharajas Express and the Orient Express.
Doesn't count.
If you take value into consideration, this train was half the price, which might make this the best train journey in the world. Alright, see you in the next one. Alright.
Oh, I just drove that way and now I can...
Almighty! Wow! Goodness! No. Now, where's Daddy?
Hey, we will call you back in a few minutes when we got better service. Our service here sucks.
baby.